Welcome everyone to another episode of the Dads of Dagobah. We're here at you again, having just watched episodes 1 and 2 of Ahsoka, a Star Wars story. Sean, you and I exchanged some text messages last night as you were watching the first episode. Shall I read them to you?
Let's do our word of the week and then read them.
Oh, fine. Okay, so you start.
I don't want my word of the week spoiled by the text messages.
Okay.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
My word of the week, for my experience with watching episodes 1 and 2, snooze fest.
That's very interesting because my word of the week was going to be slow.
Yeah. Now you can read my text messages.
Okay, here are your text messages to me as I received them at 11 o'clock last night. I am on the hype train and ready to be disappointed by something mediocre. That was before you started. Then you got to not a great sign, but I'm a little over halfway through the first episode and I'm bored. Like, I gotta watch 2 of these tonight. Does it get better? This was the slowest TV show I've ever watched. Like, we go 7 minutes at a time with no dialogue. I fell asleep during the second episode when Ahsoka is talking to Sabine in the hospital room. It's interesting. I'm so glad that I'm glad that you shared all that with me because I am the exact same way. That first episode, especially when Ahsoka is talking to Sabine in her ship around that little map thing, I was just like, man, they're kind of having long breaks in their conversation, and that like just got longer. And I'm like, what is going? What are they doing? Like trying to set up some sort of big moment for us? No, it was just berries, and Ahsoka's just always like this. Well, you have nowhere to go. I'm like, can we pick up the pace here?
Yeah, well, let me just say, obviously I was live texting my reaction to you, but I just felt like there were such long swaths of scenes where I guess things are happening, like Ahsoka's looking at the things in that little temple chamber or something, they're flying that whatever, but like no dialogue. Like there's nothing's happening. Something's happening, but it felt like nothing was happening.
Oh, totally.
And then the conversations that actually were happening seemed like they were very surface level conversations where they weren't actually talking to each other. It was like very short clipped lines of dialogue where I'm like, what is this? What is happening?
Mm-hmm.
Which made it even more. I fell asleep last night watching the second episode and watched the last 75% of episode 2 today after work, which is probably, I think, the best of the 2 episodes. That last kind of part of the second episode's the best of all of it. So, I mean, it ended better than it started, I guess I could say. But I was somewhat baffled scrolling through like Twitter today that I feel like everything I'm seeing from reactions, everyone's like loving it. I don't know if I'm just not in the right echo chamber or what, but everyone's like, this is amazing. This is like what we wanted since Rebels. And I'm like, I watched all of Rebels. And I concur with the majority of the fan base that Rebels is a great show, great storyline, introduced great characters. Like, I'm a fan of Rebels. But I don't know that I am one of the super fans that feels like just because I liked watching Rebels, it carries over into instant loyalty and adoration of this show because the Rebels characters are now in live action.
Yeah. To me, the thing that struck me the most was I cared the least about the main character. Whenever Ahsoka was on screen, I was like, I loved seeing Sabine and Hera and Chopper and all the new characters. That to me was interesting, especially the villains. Like, oh, this is interesting. But Ahsoka, I'm like, what are you doing? She has literally no emotion the entire time, and I'm like, am I misremembering how she was in Rebels, or even I mean Clone Wars? She was a fun character, and then but this one she's just so stoic and so flat. I'm just like, I don't really like you. Like, this is not interesting. I don't care about. I don't even know what you're just trying to find Thrawn for what,
Yeah, I think that you are definitely onto something there. I felt very similarly. Um, I don't think that it's Rosario Dawson's fault. I think it's the writing and the direction. Like the first episode was written and directed by Dave Filoni, and he created the character of Ahsoka. So I think that he's probably giving a lot of direction to Rosario about what he wants to portray with that character in this show. But I 100% agree with you. I couldn't quite tell what we were supposed to think about her or what she was feeling. Is she like annoyed by everybody? Is she
Yeah,
annoyed by Sabine? Is she like there's this weird tension between Sabine and Ahsoka, but Sabine actually seems to be having some like normal emotions that you can relate to about the whole thing about like she feels like Ahsoka abandoned her or quit on her or whatever. And Ahsoka, like you said, is just it's the same body language, emotion, kind of the everything. And
like the annoyed older sister who doesn't care at all about the sibling.
but I would say even when she's like interacting with Hera or interacting with any other character, she's like this very kind of reserved, stoic type thing. And I agree with you. When I think back on Clone Wars and even Rebels, I'm like, Ahsoka wasn't like that. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember her being that way. She was much more like, uh, I don't know, energetic, I guess I would say.
Oh yeah, yeah,
She had a
totally.
lot more energy in the animated shows. She obviously had character arcs where she would go through periods of being a little bit more jaded about the Jedi Order and things like that. But generally, I feel like she was a positive energy type character, optimistic, helpful to other people. Like the vibe from this Ahsoka is like she doesn't have time for anybody. She's like annoyed by you.
Is Ahsoka a part of the New Republic?
Well, she obviously is keeping in contact with Hera, and Hera's a general.
What? My question to you, Sean, and also to myself is, what is Ahsoka's motivation? Is she
Right.
just solely trying to get Thrawn? Is that her whole goal?
I guess so. I mean, it would make if that is true, then we would almost have to make the leap to say she must be part of the New Republic. Because why does she care unless she's like trying to head off a threat to the New Republic? Because she believes in it so much that she's like, I gotta stop Thrawn, and I have these whispers that Thrawn is back.
Yeah, but why does she care about Thrawn? She's this outsider outside of, it seems like, the New Republic, and certainly outside the Jedi Order. Not that there is a Jedi Order right now, but and I'm just like, why does she just have this innate sense of good, and she's like, well, I might as well stop Thrawn while I'm at it. Is that, I just don't understand what she's going for.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to jump too on too much of a tangent, but it was clear at the end of well, throughout these episodes, and certainly the end of the second episode, it's like almost a shot-for-shot recreation of the series finale of Rebels, like the epilogue of Rebels. So, like, Sabine seeing the mural and turning around and Ahsoka's there with the hood on type thing. It's like the same exact scene, which is I'm interpreting as we just now saw the live action version of that last episode of Rebels.
That's what I
So
would assume too.
now episode 3 of this show Ahsoka is now picking up immediately where Rebels the animated series ended.
Right. I'd agree with that. Yeah.
But that means that everything we've seen now in Mandalorian season 1 through 3 all happened before the series finale of Rebels. Right? Because
Well,
this
I
is
mean
all
the
now
epilogue
the epilogue.
of
You're right.
Rebels.
Because
Okay.
the epilogue is like years later. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hera
But
has a kid, yeah, all that stuff.
but Ahsoka has like already met Grogu and has already gone and been training with Luke. Like that's already happened before where we are in these episodes now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is Luke involved in the New Republic? And wouldn't he want to know if Thrawn was coming back? Like the
Ooh.
biggest Imperial threat left out there. So I think that all of that to me is I'm always almost having to like suspend my belief of why is this just like a personal vendetta for Ahsoka and she's the only one working on this right now?
What is? I don't remember the end of Rebels too well. Did Thrawn do something to her? It seems like her character is all about her and Anakin, right? And
Yeah.
Anakin's now out of the picture. So I don't remember what happened. Did something happen with her and Thrawn at the end of Rebels?
I can't remember anything specific, but maybe we need to look up a recap or something to try to figure it out. But yeah, I think that it's definitely a question. Well, let me just make one more point. We are if there's a spectrum of Star Wars fans, of casual to it's your entire life and you have no other interest in your life. And there's a midpoint. We're past that midpoint, I think, you and I. We're more than the casual. We're not as extreme as some of the people, obviously.
Yeah.
There'll always be somebody more extreme.
I mean,
But
you did win the Disney Crew Star Wars trivia.
I did.
Yeah, so I mean,
And you did too, technically, because you beat my score.
I bested you.
That's right. But we've watched almost everything. We're in this. We are Star Wars fans. And if us at our level of commitment and investment into this franchise are asking the question, what's going on here with her motivation? What are the people who are watching this who haven't seen Rebels? Like,
Yeah.
they're like, what is happening?
Well, that was kind of the weak part I felt like of the story was it had to do so much exposition and setup, but even that was so poorly done. Like
Yeah.
even with Sabine and Ezra, I would kind of be like, now, what's going on here? I know he's gone, but does she like just miss him? Does she want like what is she going for here? And then like, how did she get his lightsaber again? I'm like, oh yeah, I guess she has it. Anyway, I was just a bit confused there.
And correct me if I'm wrong too, but in Rebels, it wasn't a storyline in Rebels that she was like going to train as a Jedi, was it?
I don't know. No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I don't remember that at all. And then that in the second episode of this show, that droid is like Huyong or whatever his name is saying to her, of all the Padawans I've ever known, you're like the weakest in the Force. I'm like,
You're the worst one ever.
and I'm like, so is he saying that because she like didn't commit to and finish her training, or is that because she really just isn't that strong in the Force? And so she's going to be kind of a weaker, watered down Force user. Like we're not going to see Sabine be a Jedi Master is what they're trying to set up.
I think they're setting up that her strength comes from her Mandalorian background. Her as a warrior, She
Because
doesn't gain her strength from the Force.
even did you notice what's the villain, the man, the white beard villain, Bayam?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't remember what his name is. But did you notice when he's boarding that New Republic cruiser at the beginning of episode 1, the first episode, and he tries to recreate his own little Vader hallway scene? Did you notice this? When he's going in through that hallway and it's like, oh, and he tries to force choke and lift up a guy, but it looked like the guy barely lifted off the ground. And it, to me, I could be reading way too into this, but to me, it felt like a very conscious decision to show he's not nearly as strong in the Force as like a Vader would be. Because Vader was like, the guy flew up and hit the ceiling and was like pushed against the ceiling. This guy barely lifted up and he like threw him. And it seemed like you're not as that strong in the Force. That's what it felt like to me.
That's probably seems intentional. Yeah.
Yeah.
And his I'm trying to look it up here. What his name is. Him and what's her face? Baylan Skoll.
Baylan.
And his apprentice Shin Hati.
Huh.
Are they mercenaries? That's what it seemed like, right?
Well, it started to get weird for me too, where it was like, obviously the lady, Morgan
Elsbeth.
Morgan is from that first episode of The Mandalorian that Ahsoka was in.
Yes.
Same lady. That now, I don't remember in The Mandalorian finding this out. Now we're like, she's one of the witches of Dathomir?
I know.
I'm like,
talk about people not knowing Star Wars and be like, no, what now?
Yeah.
There's witches?
Like, she's a descendant of the witches of Dathomir. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, and is she the boss for they're not Sith. What are we calling them? They're just
of who? Who are you talking about?
The fallen Jedi, Baylan and
oh, I don't know. It seemed like they were in a monetary relationship.
Yeah,
because he mentioned something about you did pay or something, right? Yeah. The pay's good.
But like the lightsabers aren't red; they're like dark orange.
Yeah.
So it's like they're not Sith or dark side users, or are they? Or I guess it doesn't. That's maybe it doesn't. It's not relevant. But I was just curious about it.
Probably get that answered later. I would hope. Anyway. What do you think about going back to Lothal?
I liked it. I appreciated that it is tied into Rebels, and but to me, I guess it goes back to what you were saying before. To me, I just felt like the exposition that was given was too much for people who have already seen Rebels, but not enough for people who haven't seen Rebels. So they either needed to cut the exposition completely and just say, to enjoy this show, you have to have seen Rebels. Or they needed to do a completely different narrative structure to bring people up to speed on not only who these people are, but more importantly, to your point earlier, what are their motivations?
Yeah.
Like, it's not enough to just know, this is Sabine Wren. She's a Mandalorian that lives on Lothal and used to train as a Padawan to Ahsoka Tano. We need to know, like, what is her motivation and why that's her motivation. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't watch Rebels, you have no idea. Even with the exposition they gave in the show.
Maybe they should have recreated the final battle over Lothal and shown some of that.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't have been enough.
And yet, how many times have we now started a Star Wars show where we have lots of questions like this, or we think, they need to explain this. And it's like, well, we need to wait till the end of the show to see.
Okay, the only time that ever paid off was Andor.
True.
The other ones were like, kind kind of wasn't a whole lot of anything, you know.
Book of
Mando's...
Boba Fett got worse every episode. Where like that they're all they do is open up more cans of worms and they don't actually explain anything.
But they need to put that show in the back to tank. I don't know. I don't care. They gotta take me to the back to.
Get Black Chrysanthemum into the back to tank. And then the next time I'm in the back to tank, there's gonna be little black hairs floating around in my mouth.
Give it to the back to.
We gotta drain this. He's clogging my back to drain with all his hair.
Speaking of Bacta, we didn't see it this time, but it seems like the medical procedures of Star Wars have increased so much that a lightsaber stab to the gut is no longer a death sentence.
I mean, they can basically, you can basically get out of there, and it basically looks like you just had a bad case of ringworm.
She's up and walking like 2 days later. Like, this killed one of the most powerful Jedi in the whole galaxy. Qui-Gon went out like a punk. He's like, well, do I want to train an annoying 8-year-old boy? Nah. I'll let Obi-Wan do that.
Yeah, that was wild. I, for like a split second, thought, are they going to kill Sabine right now? But then I realized in the trailers and stuff, I had already seen her with like the short hair.
She hasn't cut her hair yet. Yeah.
That's right. But I think that, and I think that kind of feeds into another thing with this, which is that first episode, her doing that lightsaber fight with the other apprentice felt like there's no stakes here.
Yeah.
Like she's getting stabbed and you immediately knew, all right, that doesn't mean anything.
There are no stakes, I feel like, in Star Wars anymore.
Yeah.
No one dies for real ever. Name the last person who truly died since Han Solo.
Leia.
Oh, yeah, Leia. Okay, Leia died. And Luke. Okay, besides Leia.
Ben Solo. Palpatine.
Are we sure? Are we sure?
Oh, man, I'm naming tons of people.
Okay, from the TV shows.
Yeah.
Who actually has ever died? Besides Andor's mom.
Cad Bane.
He's still alive. He had a little beeping going on.
You're right. I think the point is that this, even with those deaths we just named, it never feels like the stakes are that high because the main character, those deaths don't carry any weight narratively.
Well, first of all, Cad Bane showed up for one episode and then gets shot, and you're like, okay, that was weird. Why did they bring him in here?
Yeah. So, anyway, I feel like overall, the first episode I did feel like was very slow. It was like a 57-minute episode, which usually I'm a fan of. I want the longer episodes, but at minute 38, 39, when I paused it, I was like, I am bored right now. Like, and I don't know if it's just because it's later at night and I'm struggling to get engaged in this, but it just felt so slow. The second episode, I fell asleep, but then today when I watched the ending of it, I felt like it picked up a little bit for me. I was kind of more interested in they go to Corellia and they find out that the Empire still has some sympathizers there and they are still loyal to the Empire, and Ahsoka says it's not loyalty, it's greed, but still that just because the Palpatine was assassinated by his apprentice and the Empire fell does not mean that it's just a blanket transfer of power across a galaxy of planets.
The Empire.
Right. So I felt like that was interesting.
Where did that Inquisitor come from? Did I miss him in some other part of the episode? Because all of a sudden he just shows up and I'm like, what? Where'd he come from?
Well, when the Witch of Dathomir lady was doing the star map and Balin and the Apprentice girl were talking. They were talking about whatever his name is,
Morok.
Morok, saying that he was on Corellia. And that's why
Oh, right.
Balin tells the Apprentice, go to Corellia and help Marok with whatever. And so he was already there. That would,
He was
but
there just supervising the hyperdrive stuff, I
yeah,
guess.
yes. And so, okay, that fight, but again, I don't want to be nitpicky, but I am going to be. I'm not really feeling the couple of lightsaber duels now that we've seen Ahsoka in. They also seem kind of slow, or when they before we see some cool sequences, they're cutting and editing it so much that it feels like we're not actually seeing the fluid motion of the duel. Like, where's our episode 3 Mustafar the greatest lightsaber duel of all time? Am I right, Joseph?
I mean, I'm almost with you there. But I agree. The editing of the fights, they cut away too quickly. So you're like, oh, okay. They're not, maybe they are choreographed, but they're not one shots where, you get to see him engage and stuff.
Yeah. But anyway, so I'm interested in the villains. I do agree with you. I hope it gets better, but this might be another mirror image of Book of Boba Fett in that the titular character is the least interesting.
It's so true. Yeah, Book of Boba Fett was the same way. Until Grogu and Mando show up and now things are saved. Like, woo! We like these guys.
So anyway.
They have growth and they have, even though one of them doesn't even dang talk, his motivation. He wants to be with his daddy, Anyway.
That was the wildest thing, that the best episodes of that show are the ones that Boba Fett is not in. He's not even in the episodes.
And he wrote a Rancor. Okay.
So yeah, so am I interested to continue watching Ahsoka? Of course, I will continue to watch. I think that it has potential to get better, but if I have to make a prediction, a bold prediction, Joseph, this will not end up being a top tier Star Wars show in my eyes. This will be kind of a mid tier type of experience.
What were the first few episodes of Obi-Wan? It was him on. It was the setup, right? Of Leia gets kidnapped. He's on Tatooine, and Bail.
Her escape, the chase scene through the forest.
There's a branch.
Episode 3 of Obi-Wan was when it got good, because that's when Vader dragged him through the fire. Their first duel.
Right. Well, we had those first 2 episodes, and then it was the parkour scene on that one planet. Yeah. We're just like, what the dadgum is going on here? Yes. So it did take a while for that show. Okay. Anyway, I don't want to talk about Obi-Wan right now, but I'm still upset. I watched a video about that Obi-Wan Darth Vader fight, and even then I'm like, I can't see it. I have no idea what's happening right now. That was disappointing. Anyway, they were comparing that fight to the Mustafar fight. Hands down, Mustafar so much better because you can actually see what's happening. Anyway, what do you think of Chopper, the war criminal, asking for her to go ahead and shoot it out of the sky? No, it'll fall in the city. Well, why does that matter? It seemed like is what he was asking. Yeah, so what?
I will say I thought Hera was really good, and I thought Chopper was great. So to me, those two I had no issues with. I thought great, and I honestly I thought Sabine was good too. I didn't think my issues with my experience of watching the show was not because I thought that the actors weren't doing a good job.
So it seemed like you liked Hera, you liked Chopper, you liked Balin, Morgan, Marok, Shin, Huyang, Sabine, but not Ahsoka.
And I don't think that it's the acting. I think it's the writing and direction for Ahsoka's character that is the issue.
Totally agree with you.
And I liked all of those people, but my criticism, and I think what we're saying is it was slow because you needed more of all those people interacting and so things happening with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the best parts were when they were interacting, and I think it was a hard balance between like recapping Rebels and setting this up for what's happening, as well as introducing new villains and, you know, new planets and stuff, I guess.
And that's true. Part of this, maybe now that they've done that over 2 episodes, caught us up to now we're at the end of the Rebels epilogue. The rest of this series is going to be brand new, kind of no more exposition. Do we know how many episodes this thing's going to be?
8.
Okay.
It ends October 3rd. So yeah, we get 8 episodes.
Okay.
So the next 7 weeks. I don't know. We should what's after this one? Skeleton Crew? Is that next?
Maybe. When does the Acolyte come out?
I can't remember. Hold on.
But I'm excited for Skeleton Crew, and I'm excited for Acolyte.
I don't know. Have we even seen anything from him?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't see anything here. Oh, here it is. The Acolyte's 2024. Anyway, we'll see. Do you have anything else you want to talk about from these 2 episodes?
Just that I felt strongly enough that we needed to do this review that I'm comfortable giving up a future SAG card and crossing the picket line to give this review.
Well, someone said in one of the reviews I was watching that it's okay for non-actor performers to talk about it, for non-union members to talk about union work. So I don't know.
But don't you feel like there's quite a few like influencers that are like, we're not gonna talk about it or review it?
Well, and within that void, we will make a stand. And we will gather new audiences like the world has never seen.
So instead of like 30 or 40 views on this, I'm expecting like 80.
We should introduce ourselves. My name's Sean Gilmore, and this is my cohort, Joseph. And yeah, we've been doing this for 8 years now.
And we really wanted to stand in solidarity with those unions, but our business manager, Derek Shane Kaysen, told us that we would be getting on here because he needs to buy some more Pokemon cards.
We signed a contract, and he's holding us to it.
That's right.
Anyway, well, we'll see you guys next week when we watch episode 3 of Ahsoka. And until next time, Sean, this is the way.
And we have spoken, and we're still working on that outro 8 months later.
It's been longer than 8 months. Okay, see you guys.
Bye.